Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai. All praise unto Yahweh Shimi Shai, Warrock Hakadash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. And honors you brothers that be pushing this truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So this is going to be a video. I'm going to entitle this 70 years of NATO, and and it's 70 years. 70 years. 7 is a spiritual number, and here the men of the Lord was going to be looking forward toward the end of this kingdom. So 70 years, that could be like an omen. I'm not saying it is, but really I'm going into this statement that's been made here. It says 7 years of brute force and hard power, and I will need to build some scriptural backbone to that statement, because pretty much when you read the scriptures and you read about Esau, and just for edification's sake, let's take a backstory and go down the biblical history, and I'll show you why NATO is relevant to the Bible. So when you find out, when you read the scriptures and you read about the different families of the world, you find out that everybody comes out of one of 18 families within the world. 18 families, 18 nations. The most significant on earth, the most significant family, the most important family is the family of the Israelites, or the nation of Israel, which is the Negroes, Hispanics, and Native Americans, of which we have what's known as lost family, all right, our descendants, or a family that has been carried away, but their lineage goes back onto the man Israel that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. So the proof of that point is within the book of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 64th verse. All right. Now, another family that's on the earth is the family of the Edomites. Another family is family nation, whatever you want to use. I'm going to use the word family. All right. Another family that you have is the Ishmaelites, and the Moabites, and the Ammonites, and so on and so forth. The Hamites, and whatever, right? Now, check it out. How the Lord deals, okay, whom the world calls the Most High, he deals with giving the rulership of the earth into a particular family, right? And if you give the rulership of the earth into one man, he's going to share that rulership with his family, okay, with the nation that's ruling. So you check out history. There was a time when the Babylonians ruled. There was a time when the Assyrians ruled. There was a time when the Edomites ruled. There was a time when the Israelites ruled. All right, but we're in a time now where it's the second generation, the second iteration of the rulership of the family of the Edomites. The first iteration of their rulership was known as the Greco-Roman Empire, which was started off by the man as Alexander the so-called Great. Now, why is this relevant to NATO? Because when you read about the scriptures, especially within the book of Revelations, it speaks about a beast that had a wound and went into perdition for a period of 1,000 years, and he was going to rise up out of the earth again and rule for a short season. This is the same beast that as the Greco-Roman Empire, which is also NATO and America. And a key factor within that, a key proving factor within that, is that when the inception of NATO came about, they signed a decree which was under the term the Treaty of Rome. All right. So when you had the Treaty of Rome, that was the resurgence of the Roman Empire, which was the fulfillment of the biblical scriptures, wherewith the scripture said the beast that had a wound unto death, right, but raised up, was raised. He had a wound. I'm roughly paraphrasing. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, but certainly the beast was put into the bottomless pit for a period of 1,000 years. Which is when the people that as the Greco-Romans, the Greeks, the Romans, which are the Edomites, which are the so-called white people that rule the world right now, which are really red, they're not white. They were pushed out there into the barren lands, all right, and then we ruled the world during the period of time that was known as the Byzantine Empire. You can Google that and check the history out on the Byzantine Empire. But continuing, now they're back in power now, and this here, the 70 years of NATO. All right, and it's 70 years of brute force and hard power, right? That's also a fulfillment of how they was going to rule, proving to you that this is the very Edomites, this is the very very devilish people that the Bible speaks of. So I'll read a little bit of the excerpt, but fundamentally, I'm going to go into the Bible. I'm going to go into the scriptures, namely the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. So, from the top, it says 7 years of NATO charts, 7 years of brute force and power. And when I Googled it, just to make sure my information was correct, I've just Googled this. I put in how old is NATO, and it says here, this NATO, okay, so today is the 4th of the 4th month, Esau's month, but it's the 4th of April. Okay, this is, and in the year right now is what, 2019, right? And the inception of NATO was in 1949. All right, so this makes NATO 70 years old. It says the existence of NATO, okay, the existence of NATO 7 years on from its creation is an insult to the millions who died so that the UN Charter could be born. All right, so millions of people have died as a result of NATO being in power. And that's a beautiful thing because they're fulfilling scriptures. Now, look, I'm going to tell you something. Here, we got what's known as thick skin, all right? There's no emotional leverage that we're going to get. If people going to die at the hands of Esau, is because they were supposed to die. But check it out. That's the nature of this man. He's a killer, all right? He was a murderer from the beginning, man. All right, and I'm going to show you some scriptures to show you that this guy's a murderer, and this is what they're talking about. Now, if those people died, okay, you're going to have some people die innocently, but the scripture talks about how, look, whoever perished being innocent. So even though they're in power, at the same time, you're going to have people that was going to die righteously, but the vast majority of people that die on the earth right now, they die what's known as judgment deaths, man. Okay, they die as a result of their own actions. Okay, so continuing, it says the most significant enduring statement from those who perished in the struggle to defeat fascism in World War II remains the UN Charter, the fundamental document of the United Nations upon its birth in October 1945. The Charter arose from the ashes of the epic struggle as a tangible symbol of hope. Enshrined within its articles was a solemn promise that henceforth justice, international law, and tolerance will reign in place of brute power and force and intolerance. And let me show you something, right? There's a thing, okay, let me go inwards. I've got a sword here. I got the scriptures in the background, inward, all right, and I'll put sword, right? There's a thing out here pretty much where, bear with me. What's going on here? Okay, there's a thing out here of deceitful lies. Okay, the way this man conducts himself, he'll speak of peace, right? But inward there's gonna be he's thinking about war. Okay, speak peace. It's in the book of Psalms. All right, bear with me here. Okay, they was gonna speak peace, but inside their mind they was looking to slay people, man. All right. Okay, Psalms 28:3. Draw me not away with the wicked and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors. And this is a statement of peace. The whole thing of NATO coming into inception was supposed to be a thing of peace, right? That's what they just said. The charter arose from the ashes of the epic struggle as a tangible symbol of hope. All right, that was what he was supposed to represent. Enshrined within its articles was a solemn promise that henceforth justice, and there's no justice underneath this man. It's just us, as in just them. Okay, and even within their own world, right? This is an Edomite world. You ask any person who rules the world right now, is the black man, the white man, the Indian man, the Chinese man. They'll let you know it's the white man. Because even out there, you're in the so-called biggest market right now, which is China. China, they're doing things, okay? They're making all kind of stuff in China. They got a so-called big economy or whatever. So they're so-called doing their thing, right? But check it out. What language do they have to speak when they go out into outer space? All right, who do they pay? What currency? You know, they're trying to move away from that currency. But what currency is what they use as international currency? What's known as the world reserve currency? They use the Edomite currency, man, which is the dollar. Now they're trying to move away from the dollar, but the fact of the matter still remains that this is the Edomite world, right? And have you had justice within the world? No, it's just them. But even within that, they don't even take care of their own people.
You see a lot of people out here within Europe, they say, England and that, they say a lot of people out here within England are on benefits, and the assumption that is going to be people from Jamaica and the West Indies and people from West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, and the rest of the rest of the so-called dark-skinned nations. People instantly assume that those are the people that are on benefits. But the reality of the situation is the vast majority of the people that are actually on benefits are there, the brothers and sisters to the elites, okay, within this society. That is to say, this is supposed to be their society. They're supposed to be on the up, but they're really doing low. That's what we know as a two-time loser. But the elite set that up because you go back into the times of the Romans. They had a thing, or what was known as the ruling class, and then and you had to be born into that so-called ruling class. You couldn't work your way up there. So the point I'm trying to make is that here it is, Esau has jacked up the whole world, but they'll jack up their own people. That's what kind of man we're dealing with here. All right, but it's not, there was no justice. It's just them. All right, so that's why you see the prison system is filled with who? Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, man. It ain't filled with Edomites, or which Edomites are the ones that commit the biggest crimes. Here it is, you had a big thing out there not too many years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. You had what was known as a 419. Well, you still have it. There's a thing called a 419, a crime, right? Where a lot of Nigerians and a lot of people of so-called African and Caribbean descent within this country, England, were committing credit card fraud. Now, a lot of them got put behind bars, right? But guess what? The money they were stealing was what? 5,000, maybe 10,000. You got these big bankers stealing hundreds of millions, man. Right? Hundreds of millions from tax. You got what's known as tax evasion and tax havens. Ireland exists as a tax haven. Ireland, one of the main things that Ireland does to make money is to be a tax haven. Apple has subsidiaries out there within Ireland where they basically send their money over there so it doesn't have the highest tax. That's what you know as a criminal. That's like a criminal offense, man. But see, guess what? These guys made the rules so that the average person is gonna break the rules, but for them, they was gonna be what? They was gonna be affluent, man. So there's no justice within this place. But continue. Oh, another example: drugs. You got a lot of Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans out there that are on what? That are in prison behind weed, maybe cocaine. But these pharmaceutical companies are literally selling you lies, man. All right, your grandma might have high blood pressure, but the very medicine that she's getting out there just masks the masks whatever ailment that she's got, and they make all kind of money off of that, and they never really fix the problem when the problem usually is a simple fix. It's a dietary change, man. Hell, they had a thing. Not going back too far. They had a thing where they were saying they wanted to remove garlic off the shelf because really garlic is like a wonder drug, right? But garlic is inexpensive, so they can't make money off of that. But this is the man that wants to go out there and lead the world into believing that he was going to bring peace. He wasn't going to bring peace, man. Right? Unto this man, pursuant to the book of Revelations, he had the blessing of the sword. That's the blessing he got. He didn't have the blessing to heal people. He's got the technology. He could do that. All right, but his blessing was the sword. That's pursuant to the scriptures within the book of Revelations. All right, now let me continue here within the book of Psalms. It says, Psalms 28:3, it says, draw me not away with the wicked, and with the workers of iniquity, which speak peace to their neighbors, but mischief is in their heart. And that's this man. Okay, that's Esau. In his mind, he might speak. That's the one. The words were smoother than butter. In his mind, or coming out, smoother than butter. Coming out of his mouth might be sweet words, and he's always got that soft voice. But in his mind, he's thinking about jacking you up, man. Okay, he's thinking about killing you. The book of Psalms 55:21, Lord's will, I don't forget this one again. All right, the book of Psalms 51:21, it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter. Let's see if I can go up, actually. Okay, Psalms 55:21, it says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. Now this is beautiful because going back into this thing of NATO, what's the main thing that what's NATO's main activity within the world right now? Is war. Okay, let me see if I could Google it in the background. How many wars NATO, okay, engaged in, right? So I'll put that in there. Let's see if it brings out anything. No, it's not giving me what I wanted. I was hoping it was going to give me the an answer. Oh, here we go. So operations past and present, right? So this was so-called set up under peace, right? So they got current operations and missions. This is NATO. This is on NATO's own website. You can check it out for yourself. NATO. Okay, so so this is current operations and missions past and present, right? That's the name of the article. All right, and then when you expand current operations, there's NATO in Afghanistan, NATO in Kosovo. Okay, securing the Mediterranean Sea, training mission in Iraq, supporting the African Union, which when you check out what them Africans are out there, they're trying to kick away the Edomite man from the land of Ham out there within Africa, man. Or which you got Jake out there. I'm just being facetious, but you got a lot of Hamites out there, and Jake too. They want Esau out of there because every time they come, all of a sudden diseases just come out from nowhere. So those are the operations that are currently on this, and also too they got air policing. Right, since Russia's illegal military intervention in Ukraine 2014, NATO has been taking extra reassurance measures for its allies. Among this, boosting of NATO's air policing missions. All right, that don't sound like no peaceable acts right there. Of which, when you check out the thing of Russian aggression, pretty much that's an American aggression, because you check out the borders of Russia, it's completely surrounded by what? By NATO's troops. Okay, of which NATO and America, they work in tandem. But continuing here, so let's remember what the scripture said a second ago, Psalms 55 and 21. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, and his words were smoother than oil, yet swords were drawn. And I showed you, since NATO's inception, all right, they've had what? Wars outside their own territory, man. Right? Territories that they don't have no business, okay, being in. Terminated operations and missions, counter piracy in the Gulf, Aden, and the Horn of Africa. And I believe that was to do with, if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, the Somalis and that. All right, they apparently a lot of these companies were dumping nuclear waste within their within Somalia's and many other countries alike. Okay, really along their shores. And them so-called pirates was defending their territory. Operation Active Endeavor, that's the name of it. Intervention Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan, NATO and Iraq, NATO and Libya, of which, are you hearing any existential threat that they had to go out there and devour? No. These were all people that were doing their thing, and one day NATO came and knocked on their door, proving what Russia today said. What they said, what 70 years of brute force and hard power. But guess what they so-called incepted it for? They so-called incepted it for what? For a so-called establishing justice. All right, international law and tolerance, and they've done nothing but brute force. Okay, continuing here within the article, it says NATO and Libya. I'll try to put this article within the comment section, by the way. Assisting African Union in the first Sudan, Pakistan earthquake relief assistance, Hurricane Katrina, protecting public events, second Gulf conflict, NATO in the former Yugoslavic Republic of Macedonia, NATO's first counter-terrorist operation, of which when you check it out, they're the real terrorists, man. Okay, they're the ones that expound their borders beyond was reasonable. Even was reasonable. They just expand their borders. They can never be satisfied. I'm gonna get that scripture in the background. NATO in Bosnia, And that's pretty much it. So that's what they say is that's from their own website. I'll put that in the comment section. So let me just read a little bit more of this. You know, I've been going for a little while now. So consider for a moment the first section of the charter's preamble. Okay, we the people of the United Nations are determined to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, of which NATO is going to play a major part in World War III. To reaffirm faith in the fundamental human rights, they haven't done that. In dignity, worth of the human person, in equal rights of men, women, and nations, to establish conditions under which justice and respect for obligations arising from the treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained, to promote social progress and better standards of life, in larger freedom. And they've gone out there bombing the hell out of these countries, man. You see, were these words spoken when Saddam Hussein's statue was being brought down? It is impossible to read those words and not lament for the gaping disjuncture between the noble ideals they embrace and the grim reality that is arrived in their wake. And this is why you gotta read Russia Today, man, because it's like propaganda for the Russians, but sometimes, you know, they'll drop some gems and they'll basically do the video for you. It says, for rather than mankind being saved from the scourges of war and the conflict has grown to become a near everyday reality across the globe. And who's at the door? NATO will be at the door, man. Okay. Right. The pressing question we are required to grapple with today is why, what lies at the root, and what is the common denominator responsible for mankind's abject failure to achieve the mission set out in the UN Charter. And upon due consideration, we are left in no doubt that fundamentally the series of conflicts that have come to define our existence are as a consequence of the drive by one ideological bloc to determine and impose a particular political, economic, social value system onto a world defined by its diversity of languages, culture, history, and tradition. All right, that's what you know as what? That's what you know as world domination, man. Okay, and that's what they really set out to do. And the end all be all of that is gonna be the chip. Man, I love this article. I'm gonna have to share that out. Those Will brothers do their own videos on this because it's 7 years. You know, that's kind of like a spiritual, spiritual number. Okay, and you know they went in. So let's cap this off here. So like we see, right? Ultimately, that NATO, America, they was established for what's known as the so-called New World Order. All right, and that's gonna be that's like Esau's wet dream, where he's gonna have everybody chipped. He's gonna have it to where he controls every facet of life, man. That's the ultimate end all be all for all of these things, and it's kind of beautiful that they put it out there within this article. So let's now finish off here within the book of Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter, and this is, I'll go straight to the point in the interest of time. This is let's go from 2 and 5. Yea, also because he transgressed it by wine, he's a proud man. Neither keepeth at home. He don't keep at home. Nail's always at someone's door, man. Neither keepeth at home. Who enlarges his desires as hell and is as death, right? And cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto himself all nations. Remember what we just read within this article. Gathereth unto himself all nations, and heapeth unto himself all people, man. All right. 8th verse, because thou hast spoiled many nations, all the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood and for the violence of the land, of the city, and all that dwell therein. All right, so hey, they're gonna try to set up their new world order. The Most High is gonna snatch that dream away from them. All right, when he sends his son Yahushua to return. So hopefully that was of edification. I tried to smash through the information as quickly as I could. Hopefully that was of edification. With that, I'm going to say, all praise unto Yahweh Shemi Ashai Warok HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles of great millstone. Honestly, brothers that be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.